Hey guys, it's Vinny from the Overdose Talk Show. Multiple media sources are reporting that the Chinese Navy seized an unmanned underwater drone deployed by the American ship the USNS Bowditch, which our government is saying is just an oceanographic survey ship. U.S. officials say that this drone is only deployed to survey certain ocean conditions, depths, features of the ocean floor, this kind of thing. Skepticism has grown online, though, and many people do believe that we were probably engaged in some kind of spying. Either way, China has indeed seized a drone. They sent a small boat off of a Chinese naval vessel, with a small crew, and snuck up, stole the drone, right as the crew of the Bowditch was preparing to retrieve it. The American ship was able to contact the Chinese naval ship and ask for the drone back, stating that it was U.S. government property and they had no right to seize it. They were initially ignored, but eventually the Chinese naval ship contacted them back just to let them know that they were leaving the area and resuming their own operations. This all took place in international waters in the South China Sea, about 100 miles off the coast of the Philippines. Now, whether this drone was spying, probing for the presence of Chinese underwater defenses, or whatever, it shouldn't be a surprise that the Chinese Navy would take this action when you look at the tensions that have been growing in this area for quite some time now. Pentagon Press Secretary Peter Cook said in a statement, quote, "We call upon China to return our UUV, that's unmanned underwater vehicle, immediately and to comply with all of its obligations under international law." Now, if you ask me, the fact that the Pentagon released a public statement this quickly is telling in and of itself. If this was indeed some benign little scientific expedition, you could expect that this could probably be dealt with privately. The Pentagon doesn't release public statements unless they are trying to get a message out or they're trying to skew public opinion on something. So something doesn't quite add up here unless you take into consideration that we could be looking at the beginnings of the war drums beating for a possible conflict in the South China Sea. Things haven't been looking good between the Chinese and the American government. Recently, the Chinese government publicly expressed disapproval of Donald Trump taking a call from the president of Taiwan. You see, to China, this defies the one China policy, which is the policy that there is only one state called China, and that countries seeking diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China, which is mainland China, must break official relations with the Republic of China, which is Taiwan, and vice versa. And although Donald Trump is not president yet, Beijing thought it compelling enough to contact the White House about this matter and express their anger. Of course, in the South China Sea, there's been long-running disputes over access to shipping routes, fishing rights, islands, and as well as exploration and potential exploitation of crude oil and natural gas. No one is quite sure how much crude oil could be found under the South China Sea, but estimates range from 1.1 billion to 17.7 billion tons. The 17.7 billion number coming from a study done by China themselves, which most people don't trust, but still, we're looking at a significant amount of oil either way. And China is not showing any signs of relinquishing its claims in the South China Sea. Recently, the Center for Strategic and International Studies released satellite images showing what appears to be anti-aircraft guns and other military equipment being installed on the Spratly Islands, which stretch out into the South China Sea. China has acknowledged that they are indeed militarizing these islands, but say that it is a reasonable measure to protect their interests. The Chinese government has also accused the United States of making provocative moves by deliberately sending warships near the Spratly Islands. Now, I'm certainly not an expert in this area. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, so forgive me if I'm overlooking something, but what I see is a United States populace that's grown very wary of war in the Middle East. The average person has learned a lot in the past 10 years about the true motives for the U.S. military occupying various locations in the Middle East. And honestly, a lot of people are sick of it, and this is the nature of how this stuff works. The old principle from 1984. You change the enemy, but the war keeps going. So when the Pentagon comes out and makes a statement like this, you have to think it's for a reason. And I've already seen in comment sections the same kind of voyeuristic keyboard warriors calling to take defensive or offensive, action against China. I've seen people saying, well, we just let's start sending drones out there with bombs on them, so when they pick them up, we'll blow them. You know, I always forget how easily coerced the average moron in this country is. So I wouldn't underestimate the ability of this government and our media to drive public sentiment towards supporting military action against China in the South Sea there. Personally, I'm a little bit sick of war. How about you guys? But what I see is we've got oil and other resources, growing tensions between major world governments. Where have we seen this before? We should all be keeping a close eye on developments in the South China Sea. And I can't wait to find out what China has to say about this drone. Again, very suspicious. We have no way of knowing as of right now what exactly the USNS Bowditch was doing in the area, but we certainly don't have any reason to trust the Pentagon at this point. And I'll guarantee you, if China had drones near our coast or near our interests, even if it was in international waters, I'm sure we would have done the same or worse. So American officials can say they're going through diplomatic channels to attempt to retrieve the drone, but really the damage is already done. The public opinion has been swayed, at least those who will be swayed, and we're one step closer to military action. This is how these things begin. It seems small, but this is how they build. And we have seen this all before. So I know there's a lot more to this story. We're going to discuss it more in depth on the next full episode of the Overdose Talk Show. If you have a tip for us, or if I have something wrong, or if you can help us understand this situation better, please leave a comment. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. See you soon.